And what if I told you the man who built a career singing about factory workers priced them out of the building? He spent 50 years building a brand on a worn out pair of jeans, a Telecaster, and the idea that nobody wins unless everybody wins. He was the guy who fought the suits. He was the guy who kept ticket prices low so the guy pumping gas could bring his girl to the show. But then one morning in July, the computer screens flickered, the cue bars loaded, and the mask didn't just slip, it fell off and shattered to the floor. Here's how the boss became the banker.
Like, subscribe. Thank you.
So the setup was classic Bruce. It was 2022. The world had been locked down. People were hurting. Inflation was starting to bite at the grocery store. Gas prices were creeping up. The working class, the very people Bruce Springsteen claims to represent in every single song he writes, were feeling the squeeze. But there was good news. The E Street Band was getting back together. They were going on tour. And for millions of people, this went well beyond going to a concert. This was an absolutely huge event. It was the one night every few years where you could go to an arena, hold up a beer, feel like your struggles mattered because the guy on stage was singing about them. He was singing about your dad's job at the plant. He was singing about your broken car. He was singing about your town. And for decades, Bruce controlled his ticket prices with an iron fist. He famously kept them lower than his peers. If the Rolling Stones were charging $300, Bruce was charging $75. He left the money on the table on purpose. It was a part of the deal. You stick with me, I stick with you. So when the 2023 tour was announced, the fans got ready. They did what they always did, saved up a little cash. They marked the calendar. They made sure they had the morning off work so they can log on to Ticketmaster the second that the sale started. And again, they expected a fair price. Maybe a little more than last time, sure. Everything costs more. Maybe $200 for the floor. Maybe $300 for the really good seats. That was the expectation, the trust. And then came the morning of the sale. So let's look at a guy we'll call Mike. Mike lives in New Jersey. He's been to 30 shows. He's got the vinyls. He's got the t-shirts. Mike is sitting at his kitchen table with that laptop open. He's got his credit card next to him. Nervous but excited. Clock hits 10 o'clock a.m. The screen refreshes, and he is in the queue. There are 2,000 people ahead of him. That's fine. He waits. Watches the little blue bar creep across the screen. 10 minutes goes by. 20 minutes. Finally, it's his turn. The seat map opens up. So Mike looks at the floor section. He sees a pair of seats, and he clicks on them. And then he stops and blinks. Maybe the browser's glitching. Maybe he forgot his glasses. The price for one ticket is $4,000. So then he looks again. $4,300 plus fees. So he clicks on a different section, maybe the lower bowl. These have to be cheaper, right? Finds a seat in the side section, not even facing the stage directly. $1,200. So Mike sits there, he freezes. He can't believe what he's looking at. He refreshes the page thinking it's a mistake, but it's not a mistake. The numbers are real. And as he watches, they're actually going up. He sees a seat for $5,000 now. And this was not the scalpers, not some dude named StubHub Steve trying to flip a ticket he bought 5 minutes ago. This was the primary market. This was the box office price. This was the price coming directly from the Bruce Springsteen cap. And it was called dynamic pricing. See, the thing is, Ticketmaster had this new tool, and it worked like Uber surge pricing. The algorithm watched how many people were in the queue. If a lot of people wanted tickets, the price automatically went up instantly. It didn't care who you were. Didn't care that you'd been a fan since 1975. It just saw demand, and it jacked up the price to see how much pain you were willing to take. They call that absorption. How much you are willing to absorb in CEO speak. And Bruce Springsteen, the champion of the common man, had to say yes to turn that feature on. Mike didn't buy the tickets. He couldn't. That was 3 mortgage payments. Slammed his laptop shut, and he felt sick to his stomach. It wasn't just that he couldn't go to the show. It was that he felt like he'd been scammed by a friend, and he wasn't alone. Social media lit up like a refinery fire. Screenshots started flooding Twitter and Facebook and everywhere else. People were posting pictures of their screens showing tickets for $2,000, $4,000, $5,000. These were not even front row seats. They were just what would be considered good seats. The nosebleeds, the seats where you watch the concert on a screen because the band looks like ants, were going for hundreds of dollars. The anger was instant and loud. It wasn't the usual ticket fees suck complaining. This went far deeper. Fans started posting lyrics back at him. Is that me, baby, or just a brilliant disguise? Poor man want to be rich, rich man want to be king. They felt like the guy who wrote Factory was now trying to buy the factory and then can everybody. But here's where it gets really ugly. Usually when a disaster like this happens, the artist comes out and says something. They blame the system, blame the promoter. They say, whoa, I didn't know it would get that crazy. I'm sorry, we're going to fix that. Taylor Swift had a mess with Ticketmaster. She ripped them apart publicly. The Cure's Robert Smith saw the fees getting too high, and he actually forced Ticketmaster to refund the money to the fans. He fought for them. The fans waited for Bruce to speak. They waited for the boss to step in and say, cut it out, turn off that damn algorithm and let my people in. Instead, silence. Days went by. The anger kept building. The prices stayed up. And then the manager spoke, John Landau. He's been Bruce's manager forever. He's the guy who famously wrote, I have seen the future of rock and roll, and his name is Bruce Springsteen. So Landau put out a statement to the New York Times. If he thought the prices were bad, the statement was even worse. He didn't apologize. He didn't say it was a glitch. He defended it. He said, in pricing tickets for this tour, we look carefully at what our peers have been doing. We chose prices that are lower than some and on par with others. Peers. He was talking about Paul McCartney, the Rolling Stones, the legacy acts charging premium prices for premium seats. And then he dropped the hammer. He said, regardless of the commentary about a modest number of tickets costing $1,000 or more, our true average ticket price has been in the range of $262. $262 as an average. He was bragging about it. He was saying, hey, most of you are only paying $300. What's the problem? He talked about fair market value. He talked about capturing the money that would normally go to scalpers. The logic was, scalpers are going to charge $5,000 anyway, so we might as well charge $5,000 and keep that money for ourselves, which makes total business sense if you are a hedge fund manager. It also makes total business sense if you're selling luxury handbags, but it makes zero sense if your entire identity is built on the idea that you're not one of those guys. You can't sing The River to a room full of people who paid $5,000 to be there. Or at least the guy from the song can't be in the building. The fans read that statement and they just saw red. They realized there was no mistake. The algorithm was not broken. It was working exactly how Bruce wanted it to work. But the real dagger came later. Bruce finally did an interview. He sat down with Rolling Stone. This was his chance to walk it back. He had now the chance to say, you know what? We messed up. We got greedy. I lost touch. But he didn't do that. Instead, he actually doubled down. He told the reporter, I'm going to do what everybody else is doing, my peers. But there was that word again, peers. He wasn't looking at the fans. He was looking at the other rich guys. He said, I tell my guys, go out and see what everybody else is doing. Let's charge a little less. That's generally the direction. They go out and set it up. For the past 49 years or however long we've been playing, we've pretty much been below market value. I've enjoyed that. It's been great for the fans. I've enjoyed that, pretty much like he's been doing them a favor for 50 years. Then he said, this time I told them, hey, we're 73 years old. The guys are there. I want to do what everybody else is doing, my peers. So that's what happened. That's what they did. And he admitted it. Basically said, I'm old and I want to get paid what the other old guys are getting paid. He tried to brush it off, said if people had a complaint, they could go to a different show or just get their money back. He said, I don't want to be the poster boy for high ticket prices. But unfortunately, that was too late. The reaction on the ground was devastating. But nothing showed the magnitude of this betrayal more than what happened with Backstreets. Backstreets was a magazine, and really not just a magazine, it was like the magazine for a time. Started in 1980, it was run by the superfans, the people who followed the band from town to town. People who documented every set list, every sound check, every rumor. For 43 years, Backstreets was the heartbeat of the Springsteen community. They supported him through everything. When he fired the band, they stayed. When he put out weird acoustic albums, they analyzed them. When he got political and people got mad, they defended him. They were the loyalists, and the ticket prices actually broke them. The editor, Christopher Phillips, wrote an editorial. Wasn't angry, it was just heartbreak. Wrote about trying to be excited for the tour. Wrote about trying to cover the music, but he said he couldn't do it. He couldn't tell people to go to a show that they had to mortgage their house to see. And he wrote that there's no defensible justification for dynamic pricing other than greed. He couldn't reconcile the man on stage with the man approving these prices. Cognitive dissonance was just too damn loud. The lie was too damn big. So in February 2023, Backstreets announced that it was shutting down. After 43 years. They didn't run out of money or stories. They just ran out of faith. Ran out of the ability to look the readers in the eye and say, yeah, this is worth it. So they closed the doors, archived the site, and the biggest fan community on the planet decided it was better to die than support the grift. Bruce went on tour anyway. The arenas were full because there are always enough rich people to fill an arena. There's always enough people with corporate cards or people willing to go into debt for a night of nostalgia. But the crowd looked different. It was older, wealthier. The energy was different. The working man wasn't in the pit anymore. The working man was outside listening to the old records, realizing that the guy singing them didn't really know him anymore. And the Ticketmaster algorithm did exactly what it was designed to do. It found the maximum price people were willing to pay, squeezed every last cent out of the demand, and made the tour a massive financial success. And it made Bruce and his peers a pile of money. And all it cost was 40 years of trust. Smack that like button, smack the subscribe button, join the family. To my subscribers, you freaking rock. To my patrons who enjoy some of the wild and wacky stuff I just cannot put up on YouTube, thank you so much. You freaking rock. Thank you all for watching.